hear from her because she is changing lives. You go, Grace.
Okay.
Woo!
Okay. Thank you. Well, after hearing Stacy earlier today and so many of the other speakers, and I know we were running a little short on time, I was thinking I could just tell you all to could you just get your plans, go and do them, and that's pretty much being intentional. I'm done. No, I'm kidding. So, shout out to me when you think of somebody who's intentional. Can you please tell me what words immediately pop into your mind?
Organized.
Organized? Focused?
Disciplined.
Disciplined. What else?
Systems.
Systems.
Consistent.
Consistent. Give me two more.
Passionate.
What?
Passionate.
Passionate. Yes.
Engaging.
Who said it? Oh, engaging. Yes. Okay. So we think of these different character qualities when we were thinking of somebody who has a intentionality about them, correct? So what I did is I came up with some keys that kind of lead us to this life of intentionality. And the first key is knowing your roles and your goals. And I promise this is the only key that rhymes. And I'm going to try not to laugh because when I was working through this, going through it in front of my husband, he started cracking up because he's like, "Are you going to rhyme your whole talk?" I'm like, "Yes, yes," because we have a 3-year-old, so that's what I do now. I rhyme everything. But no, last year, about a couple months before conference, I found myself totally not being intentional because I was all over the place. I felt like I had to be all or none with things. So for example, you come to a retreat like this and you get all excited, right, about these big goals that you're gonna have. You're like, oh, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do this. And you start making plans, but you forget that you have other roles in your life, right? So then you get home, and who here has children at home? Anyone? Okay, so you get home and then you're like, oh, wait, I also have a role as being a mom, right? So you kind of set your goals on the back burner because now you're like, oh, but I really need to focus on them because I was away from them for a few days, right? And then maybe the mommy guilt starts coming in, so you set goals for the family, and you kind of put your business over here. How many of you work outside the home? Anyone have full-time jobs? Okay, so maybe then that starts creeping in and you're thinking, wait, you know what, I really need to focus on that because I do have goals with that. And I was at this place where I wasn't being focused on anything because I felt like any given day of the week I might feel like, oh, I have to be more focused on my faith and give more back to my church. And then the next day I'd be like, I really need to be focused on my family. And what happened was I started coaching with Southwestern, which is Rory Vaden's company. And I also started reading Stephen Covey's book, First Things First. And what happened was they both beautifully collided, and I learned a crucial little thing about knowing your roles in life. And I'd never thought about this. See, up here I have all these bags. These are some of the different roles you may have. Your role is maybe the financial person in your household, business goal, roles. You might be a mom, you might be a full-time worker. We have all these different roles, and we need to know what they are, because if you are not clear on the different roles you have, how can you set goals in your life, right? I'd never taken the time to actually look at all my different roles and set the goals associated. And some of my goals aren't that big, if you will, and some are huge. So with my personal business, with Pampered Chef, I want to promote to exec. That's big. With my marriage, I want a date night once a week. Do you see, that's not really a big goal, but it's still a goal. It's still going to take time away from my business, and I need to be aware of it as I set my business goals. You see how the roles and the goals are all interconnected. You need to be aware. So what I do in my calendar now is over to the side, I'll have a little sheet of paper as I'm looking at my upcoming week, and I write down my different roles. So one of my roles is daughter, meaning I'm trying to help my mom take care of my dad who's battling dementia. That's a role in my life. Mommy is a role. Now, some roles have seasons, right? Last quarter, one of my roles was Sunday school teacher. That is not currently a role in my life right now, so I don't have to schedule that in, okay? But you need to be aware of this, my friends, because you cannot be intentional in your life if you don't even know what the heck you're supposed to be intentional in, right? And just trying to ignore it and flitter through life not even knowing what you're doing gets you absolutely nowhere, and that's where I was last year. Thank goodness I reached out for the coaching. So then once you know your roles, you can figure out your goals. And I had highlighted from Stephen Covey's book. He said each role ties into your long-term goals Each role has weekly and daily activities that you can perform to get you closer to the long-term goals. Stephen Covey's method demands that you should determine the major roles you have in your life. This helps you to sharpen your goals, okay? The roles you set can be changed with time. What remains stable is the way you articulate your goals depending on the roles you set, and this helps you focus. Thanks to the right goal setting, you change the whole approach to how you do things, and when moving forward, instead of looking at your watch, you relate to your roles and fulfill your goals. And that's what makes you focus on what is important to you. Don't you think you'd be a little bit more intentional if you started setting your goals according to what's important to you in life? See, I used to set my calendar according to, okay, so from 10 to 10:30 I have to do this, from 10:30 to 11 I have to do this. I would actually get mad at recruit leads if they kept me on the phone too long. So I'm like, oh, I had customer care scheduled at this next time, and now it's gonna be all backed up, how dare they? And I don't know about you, but Darla talked to us about, that whole heart-centered, listening. Well, was I there? Absolutely not. So when you know your roles in life and you have the goals surrounded around them, it's not so much looking at the minutes ticking away, it's looking on focusing and being intentionally using those minutes to totally fulfill this. Doesn't that sound like good stuff right there? Right? Well then next, that really leads you logically, this is your second key, is scheduling, okay? Because you have to schedule things. If you're not scheduling, you're just throwing everything out to the wind, right? You get up in the morning and you might have a loose schedule. I gotta get the kids on the bus and then I have to get to work, and maybe if I have time I'll do a little host coaching. And what happens when you don't have a schedule is you're like that hamster hopping into the wheel and just going through those motions every day. And you know what I find is those in this business who are the most negative and the most depressing are the ones who refuse to set a calendar, to get a schedule, because there's no passion behind their actions, because all they're doing is stepping inside that wheel and going through the motions. I'm going to do a little host coaching. I'm going to see, maybe I'll hit some kind of goal. We'll just see. We'll see what life hands to me. And I will tell you, if you're not planning your time, what you're doing is you're not being intentional, and you're just saying, life, I'll take whatever you hand me. And isn't that just depressing, right? Now, when I'm talking about a schedule, my friends, here's what gets me excited. You can decide if you want to do this. This has really been my year of starting off being intentional. I like to set out, and I just did this last week, is I printed off January through December. So I'm a paper girl. Can you tell that I'm not techie? So I covered a whole table. And here before me was 2016, a blank sheet of papers, literally. And I started thinking, what are my goals? And I already prayed on it, and I said, Lord, I'm going to be your vessel this year, and I have big, hairy goals, and it's only you that can provide these, so help me to plan this wisely. So I said a big, hairy goal would be to promote the Exact Buy conference. But let's just pretend in a perfect world, what would that look like? Okay, I need this kind of show schedule, and I penciled it in. You know what? I probably need to have a couple of programs to get people, knowledge with booking, so I scheduled in some step-ups. And then I started putting this in, and what days look logical to put my coaching calls? Because what happens, my friends, is when you have your goals in place and you start scheduling, you start getting really savvy, right? It's no longer, oh, I'm going to try to squeeze this person in for a coaching call on Monday. And you know what? Maybe I'll try to squeeze somebody else in on Wednesday. When you take time to use this in here and you look at the big scheme, you start thinking, wait a minute, group like projects together, right? Let's do all the coaching calls on Tuesday, because don't you think after just a few minutes, and then after an hour or so of coaching, you're rolling now, right? And then what's nice is at the end of that day on Tuesday or whatever day you pick, you sit down for a little reflection and you think back, was I a good listener? Did I ask good questions? What do I want to improve on next week when I'm talking to so-and-so, right? You can concentrate, you can focus, and I will tell you, there's nothing more passionate when you can look at a whole year and knowing that things will change and shift, but seeing how your goals can really come to life once you put them on a calendar. And then what happens is then you have a plan, because you're like, okay, so this is going to happen each quarter. This is what's going to happen each month. This is what's going to happen each week. And you keep those papers, because again, I'm a paper, or you can put them in your Evernote. I definitely ask. Okay. And what happens then is at the end of every week, you evaluate. Did the actions I take this week reflect my goals? And now intentionally looking next week, am I playing catch up? Am I spot on, or am I even ahead of the game? Maybe I didn't set goals big enough. I need to up the ante here. But you cannot do any of this if you don't schedule, okay? If you get away from that, my friends, well, just forget that, okay? You gotta set a schedule. So coaching, this is the next key step. So you know your roles and goals. You're getting a schedule down. You're figuring out how to plan in a savvy manner. You gotta have accountability. You really do. You know, nobody, as we heard earlier again from Darla, because she's amazing, you know, nobody ever just comes to the top and just knows everything. You know, these top people in the world, they all have coaches. Who are we not to? See, a good coach, what they will do is not only do they listen and ask good questions, but they help us shift our paradigms. I would encourage you all, and this is not knocking home office at all, and because you're recording, so I want to state this right here. I would really encourage you guys to find a coach outside of Pampered Chef, because what you will find is they will force you to change your paradigms. My coach with Southwestern, he'll say, well, what's what's holding you back from recruiting more? Oh, well, you know, the top recruiters typically do this much a month. He's like, so what? What does that even mean? You know, and other direct sales companies are doing this much and this much a month. He's like, why wouldn't you do more? Well, that's just what we do. He's like, so what? And he'll challenge me and say, do you have to do your cooking shows that way? Do you have to do your full service checkout that way? You know, sometimes we get in this bubble, right? And it's just because we've always done it. It's good to have somebody out there questioning it and making you, again, use this and really think and asking those questions. You know, they're going to challenge you to grow and move forward, and they're going to call you on your crap, you know? So if you waste a week and you come on a call and they're like, why didn't you? And you're like, because I'm scared. Well, my coach asked me, he said, Grace, you have so many beliefs that we have to uproot. And one of mine was, I really felt like I was a bad leader. And I was using it to cover all my issues. And I said, I just feel like I'm a bad leader. And you know what he said to me? You don't feel that way. Yes, I do. I just told you I do. And I was using that excuse not to be intentionally working with my team. And you want to know what? He wouldn't let me off the phone until he had dug down and uprooted every crappy belief. And you know what we got down to it?
You cried.
No, I didn't cry. I got really mad. I'm like, would you just shut up? We got down to it. I had built this belief that it was hard for people to promote to director. And because what had happened was I had this really nasty inner belief all rooted down here. I wasn't working with my team, so there was no intentional actions with that. Because if you believe something down in your pit, why would you intentionally move towards it? So now I just thought, well, I'm not working with them, and now they hate me, so I'm just a bad leader. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
This is why you need coaching, my friends, because they don't let you just get by just accepting the average or the norm or the crappy beliefs about yourself. They get you past it, but they also celebrate with you. My coach is always saying, Grace, you need to celebrate more. You work really hard. He says, celebrate for a moment, definitely move on, but you need to celebrate more. And you know what, ladies, and gentlemen, sometimes we forget to do that. So I'm really going to encourage you. You know, Darla mentioned a great coaching company. Seek them out. There's the Success Factory, Belinda Ellsworth. Southwestern is fantastic. I will warn you, they can be a little scary, but in a good way.
Team Connections.
What is it?
Team Connections.
Team
with
Connection.
Mary McLaughlin.
Okay.
So I mean,
It's $20 a month, and you get like 15-minute personalized coaching and
seek it out. And if you're like me, what I found is, if it's free, I don't really take it seriously. It's just me. So, because I have to shell out a little bit, and it puts a little ouch in the budget, I take it really, really, really seriously. So, get yourself going. Stop making the excuses saying, I don't have the money. You want to know what? Cut your cable. I cut down, we're down to Netflix. I cut my cable. You want to know what? I stopped going to Dunkin' Donuts so much, and we actually got a little tighter with the budget. If you really want it, come on. We're
Yeah.
business people.
Yeah.
We'll make it happen, right? Come on. Okay, and then the last key is you gotta surround yourself with people who share your values. A few years ago, I found myself surrounded with a few people who didn't share my values. You know what they wanted to share with me? Negativity, why they thought Pampered Chef was crap, and why 31 and all the other companies were so much better than we are. Apparently we didn't know what we were doing, blah, 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 blah. And how, well, if they were running the company, they would do it better, and, seriously. And I listened to it. And why they thought this consultant was full of baloney, and why that consultant must not be, doing things right, and they must be working the system and all the latest gossip. And I allowed myself to be part of that. And And you know what it was? It was like if you went to Dunkin' Donuts and you ordered a donut, and they brought you one, you know, you said, I want a jelly donut, and they said, okay, and they said, but you know, we're just making them, so what would you like in your donut? And you're like, oh, well, you know, I ordered a jelly donut, just put whatever in. Oh, you want whatever in? And what if they took your donut and instead of pumping nice sweet jelly into it, you watched as they reached in the garbage, they pulled out a handful of eggshells and coffee grounds and maybe some chicken fat, and they just, here's your donut. See, I didn't ask them intentionally and say, no, make sure you put the jelly in there. That's what I ordered. I just said, just give me whatever. You know, I prefer a jelly donut. You have to intentionally surround yourself with the people that are going to build you up, that share your values. Because if you just let anyone around you, it's like just letting all that garbage around you, my friends. And I'm sorry, but this girl no more got no time for that.
Woo.
It was really hard. Last year was probably one of the hardest years of my life because I had to sever some ties. That is not easy because you feel like you're a bad person for a while. But you know, and I know what? You can't change them. Only Jesus can. So you move on, and you surround yourself with the people who build you up, share your values, and want to go on with you. So as we wind down, I have a little illustration just in case being intentional, okay? And I know I didn't give you exact tips, but my friends, you're the top of the top. You're the cream of the crop in this room. You know how to host coach. Come on, right? You know how to recruit. You know all these. So I wanted just to give you the encouragements of how to lead a life of intentionality, okay? So that you can start forming systems in there. And what I want to encourage you is if you are choosing just to flitter around, if you leave this retreat and you go home and you decide not to change your habits and you just kind of just resume all the same day-by-day activities without thinking things through, without planning, this is what it looks like. It's like as if life has given you this one bag and you've got all your daily activities in here, right? Everything that needs to get done. But you've decided you're not going to be intentional. Again, you're just going to let life hand you whatever you want, right? So you're not going to plan or anything. So it's kind of like, oh, you know, I'm going to make some calls, you know. Oh, crap, didn't go in my back. That's okay, you know. And you want to, I've got some goals, you know, I want to get fit, but you know what, I'm not going to plan around it. We'll see if maybe I wake up tomorrow and have abs. You know, I do have some business goals. I would really like to have some shows, but you know what, I'm not really going to plan it. So, you know, I mean, are they going in the bags? Are any of my daily activities hitting the goals? Who's doing this right now? You're setting all these goals, but you're not planning. Whoa, raise your hand. Don't be scared. Yeah, right? They're not hitting because I'm not planning. I'm not being intentional. But if I wake up and I say, today, here's my action plan. You know, Stacy Itzel and all these other great gals here, you know what they said? One of the biggest things I heard over this weekend was relationships. Say, you know what, today I'm going to reach out to those recruit leads and I'm not going to put a blast on Facebook because nobody really reads them, but I'm going to intentionally reach out to these 5 people. I'm going to call them and say, I want to meet for coffee. Okay? What's going to happen is, where's my business? Where
Over
is it?
there, over there.
Thank
right,
you.
Second from
It's
the-
like I'm taking that and I'm putting that action step directly towards my goal. And maybe I'm thinking, you want to know what? I really want to make sure that me as a person, that I'm always thinking good thoughts and I'm growing as a person. So you want to know what? I'm going to make sure that I start reading. So I'm going to pick one book. Maybe it's the Procrastinate with Purpose. I'm just going to take 10 minutes. So I plan and I do it. Boom. It goes right into the bag. See, my friends, being intentional is literally taking the actions, gripping the item you want to improve in, and placing it in. That's what it is.
I love it.
Were you done?
Hold on, let me just.
No, I'm done. I'm just picking up now.
You said something that kind of got my heart, and I can
This is
relate to.
great.
You said that you thought you were a lousy leader, and so you weren't really doing anything. How did you deal with that with your team? I mean, did you have to say, I mean, how do you, once you get to that point, you felt that way, you had these negative beliefs, and your team probably loved you, and that probably wasn't true, but I'm wondering, how did you move forward from feeling like a lousy leader to a more intentional one?
It was honestly reaching out to them. It was once I acknowledged the really root of that. I felt it was hard for people to promote to director. Then what I did is I just looked at it and said, wait a minute, but is this really true? Is nobody promoting to director? And that's not true. People are promoting every month, you know? And so then I thought, well, actually, what takes them to promote to director? It's getting the shows and getting the recruit. And then when I really thought about it, I thought, no, it's actually really not. So since it's really not, then I should just reach out to these people on my team that I really see could do it, tell them that I think they could do it, and see if they want to work with me. And I wasn't really doing that at all. So the interesting thing is that week then, I reached out to them, they were all excited, and I remember I sent Sharon Zellin a Facebook message, and I said, Sharon, for the first time I get it. Because Sharon had been hounding me for years and saying, Grace, stop farting around on Facebook, call your people, this is a relationships business. And she would always say it, she'd say I drive her crazy. And so I said, Sharon, I finally get it. That week was probably the most fun week in a long time in my business, because there is nothing better than building relationships with your people. And you just can't do that when you're just farting around with your business.
So they received you positively, your team did, when you reached out?
Yeah, because, well, and I found out a lot of them didn't feel like I was a lousy leader at all. They're like, no, you're great. But I didn't it wasn't like I like say Nancy Joe was on my team. It wasn't like I called, Nancy Joe, because I feel like I've been such a lousy leader, I really like to work with you.
Right.
No, what I did, I acknowledged it.
To yourself.
To myself and to my coach. And I just said, now I'm done with it.
Okay.
Because that really wasn't even the root belief, you know? And we're just going to move forward now.
Very good. Thank you.
Sure.
What does that look like on your calendar? This is so
What it looks like
right here.
basically is you pick the times. Like I know for me right now, with shows included, I only want to work my business right now 22 to 25 hours a week. So what I do is I look at my calendar, I pick out, so for me I like 10 to noon, noon to 1 is off to have lunch with his lordship, 1 to 3 back in my office, and then if I have a show that night. Yeah, his lordship. But here's how it looks like though. So like that, like Mondays, 10 to noon. I just have it slated for host coaching. Okay, because because that's a value to me now. I want to. One of my goals with my coach is to build to $1,000 show average. So usually from 10 to 11, I'm working with that current month's host. 11 to noon, I'm reaching out to the next month's host. Okay, and working with them. But sometimes I don't need all those 2 hours. So you know how we have all those piddly other stupid little tasks. I gotta do this little product adjustment. So if I get done early, great. I'll do those little bitty things that do, that kind of, I didn't schedule anywhere, but I knew I would have pockets of time open up. But yet, because my schedule is now value-based, do you see it goes back to the values? I'm not rushed, so that if I do get in, say, a good recruiting conversation with one of my hosts, I don't feel rushed because I know I've scheduled 2 hours for host coaching that day. Do you see? And also with my team calls, okay? I schedule more than enough time so that if we need it, I have it, knowing that a lot of times I actually do get done a little bit sooner. But again, when your schedule is based on your roles, it's not, again, like every minute is not like dictated. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I would really encourage you, get Stephen Covey's book, First Things First. I'm sure I'm not explaining it as well as he is.
It's 7 roles.
Yes, it's seven roles. It's
and
phenomenal.
goals. It is really good because when you list all of your roles as a sister, as a daughter, as a mother, as a friend, you get more things in because like as a sister, if I go do something fun with one of my sisters, I did a sister thing this week. I did, and so much of life, we're so busy, and because we're busy in the evenings too. Some of those things tend to go to the wayside. So when you put them in, you feel a lot more fulfilled.
Yeah, and it did, the one thing I'll just throw this as a bonus, it taught me that you also, if you find that you have too many roles, and you're like, oh my word, because I know there's some of you in this room, you have like PTA and soccer and blah, 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 and like you sign up for everything. If somebody approaches you, you just say yes, right? You have to remember that if it doesn't line up with your goals, you need to say no, because every time you do say yes to something, you could be taking away somebody else's opportunity to shine.
Yep.
And
So-
we don't want to do that.
No, well, and like that's why I stepped down from teaching Sunday school, because there are definite ladies in my church that I knew if I just kept signing up, they would just sit back and let me do it. And I approached them and said, I'm purposely not going to teach this whole next year. It is your year to shine. You have it in you. Do not come and ask me. I will not be doing it. You better step up because I know you can do it. No longer, and the same thing for those of you in the room who you're scared about, or you're not letting your directors help you with your meetings and giving them tasks. Sandy just went out to use potty, but the best thing I've started doing is I really don't train at my meetings too much anymore. I'm letting others train, and they're shining. Now, are they like is exactly how Grace Bott would do it? No, thank God. But you know, bless and release some things. You've got to give other people their opportunity to shine. Don't take it away from them. It's totally cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Marie?
I was just gonna make a comment because Marna and I and Patty went to Belinda Ellsworth's Leading the Way, and she kind of confirmed that, you know, attendance at our meetings have been dropping across the board, not just Pampered Chef. Every direct sales company has gone through this change, but those personal relationships that you build at the meeting, you know, whether it's getting a cup of coffee or going, Paula was there too. Yeah, so that is so precious, and that's the point of the meeting, and you can't just give it up to Zoom and doing other things. It's the personal connections that will keep you building a strong organization.
Well, and what I love about Zoom so much is everybody's paying attention when they're on Zoom.
Oh,
They can't
yeah.
be doing the dishes and all this other stuff. And I think when you see
No, you
people's
can't.
faces and their expressions and they're engaging, I just think Zoom is really worth it. I love Zoom. I love Zoom. So,
Okay.
awesome.